Welcome again to Irinka's Kitchen. I'd like to share another family favorite called stuffed peppers. It's called TÖLTÖTT PAPRIKA in Hungarian. And what I'd like to begin with is to share with you how to do the stuffing of the stuffed peppers. So I'm going to go over here and show you that I have 1 kilogram of ground beef and 1 kilogram of pork. Ground pork. So what you can do is you can use either or. If you prefer not to have pork in your meal, then you can substitute it for beef. But what I've done is I've mixed pork and beef together because it gives it a really good flavor. So I have this all prepared and mixed together, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to spoon it over into another bowl, and I'm just going to show you how much of the meat I do have here. It's a great recipe. It can be frozen, it can be put into Ziploc containers or freezer containers and portion sized for your family, and you can warm it up. You can serve it with mashed potatoes and rice if you want. There is rice already in this recipe, but if you want to add more rice to it on the side, or you can have pasta, you can have just potatoes, diced up potatoes. Or you can serve it with your favorite rye bread or baked bread. It's great with that too. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do with the lean pork and the lean beef. I got that all. I'm going to spoon this in here. This was one of my mom's family favorites because when there's season for peppers, we go down to British Columbia and we bring back yellow peppers. So my recipe has orange, red, and yellow bell peppers. But whatever pepper is in season, whatever pepper is available in your area, you can use that. So I've got that all mixed together. Then I have here ground pepper. So I've got ground pepper. I've got 2½ teaspoons of ground pepper. I like to use a lot of black ground pepper. But if you prefer to use half of that, you can. But I just find it just gives it a really great flavor. So I use actually quite a bit of ground pepper in this recipe. Then I have ½ teaspoon of sea salt. I use sea salt in a lot of my recipes. And then what I have here is some chopped garlic. I have about 3 cloves of chopped garlic. So I add that into the meat mixture. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to stir this, mix this together into my meat mixture here. And this will go inside of half peppers. Like I've cut some peppers whole peppers into half, and I'm going to fill the peppers with the meat mixture. This is a great recipe. I can already smell the pepper and the garlic, and so what I'll do is I'll just really mix this in together. Then what I've got here is 4 tablespoons of liquid egg. It's egg white. So I've kind of cut back on the cholesterol of it. So that would be equal to 2 tablespoons would be equal to 1 large egg. So I've got 4 tablespoons of liquid white egg mixture. So I'm going to add that to the meat mixture. And then I'm going to add my onion, my large onion. So I've got lots of onion, and if you prefer not to have as much onion in your recipe, you can cut back on that too. You can use a small onion. You can use spring onions also. Whatever you have at home is great. I've used a sweet onion. It tastes great with that. And then I'm going to mix together, I'm going to add a cup of rice to this mixture. So I'm going to slowly spoon in a cup of rice into the meat mixture. My mom always and my grandma always used rice. It just gives it a better consistency, and it's really tasty. It's almost like a meal in one. So I just slowly mix that into the meat mixture. It's the mixing part of it is what takes a lot of time. And then, of course, I'm going to be showing you how to make the juice, sort of like a juice mixture that goes into, pour it onto the peppers, the stuffed peppers. So this is a fabulous recipe. You know, if you're expecting a lot of guests, I only have about 6 bell peppers, and I've cut them in half, so I've got 12. My recipe says 12 to 16 whole peppers, but what I'm doing is I'm going to make it out of 6 peppers cut in half, which is 12 half peppers. A little goes a long way. My grandmother would use a whole one, and then she'd stuff the inside of that and put it into the juice mixture. And of course, the recipe has been kind of, it's kind of like my mom and grandmother's recipe, so there is a little bit of changes to it and added to it. I just phoned her about 2 weeks ago, my mother, and I've kind of revised the recipe a little bit and added a little bit more stuff in it. There is a spice, it's called marjoram, and that's optional. I've kind of written that in there on the website that it is optional. And Vegeta, if you can't get a hold of Vegeta, what you can do is you can use a herbal spice mixture of your choice. Herbicon is the one that I use. It's a German spice, and it has a lot of dried vegetables, has sea salt in it, Hebrcon. You can get it at the German delicatessen stores. It may not be found in major grocery chains like Vegeta. You might have a hard time finding it. But if you don't have that, you can use whatever spice that you enjoy having. So what I'm doing is I'm mixing the rice into this recipe, and then what I do is I fill the peppers with, and it's about like a tennis ball size of, I put the meat mixture inside of the peppers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how to make the sauce for it, so like a liquid sauce for it, and then I'll have all of these stuffed and ready to go in a roasting pan, in a large roasting pan, and so I'll be back. Welcome back again. I'm back again to show you how I'm going to make the juice mixture, and this is with the recipe for stuffed peppers, TÖLTÖTT paprika. So what I'd like to do is show you how this is made. So I've got 2 cups of water added into this pot, and then I've got V8 juice, but you can use tomato juice. V8 juice has a mixture of vegetables and tomatoes, and so I use V8 juice. And you can use the low sodium one if you want, or just a tomato juice. And this is about 2 liters. So 2 liters of that, 2 cups of water. So I'm going to bring this to a boil. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add brown sugar. So I've got brown sugar here. So I've got 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. So I'm going to add that in there, and I'm going to stir it. And then I've got some ketchup. So I use, in a lot of my recipes, I use ketchup. So 3 tablespoons of ketchup, your favorite ketchup. So I add that in there, just for a bit of flavor. And then I've got this Herbicon, which is Herbcon spice. So it's a German spice. And you can use any spice that you want. If Vegeta is not available, as I mentioned before, you can use your favorite spices in here, and herb mixture. So I'm just going to stir that around, stir all of this around. And then I've got half a cup of olive oil. Now you can cut back on that. You can use half of what I'm using there, but it just gives it a little bit more moisture for the meat. So I'm going to stir this around. I'm going to bring it to a boil. So I'm going to let that boil, and you just stir it occasionally. And then what I've done is I have stuffed the peppers with the meat mixture. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I've got all the peppers stuffed. And I'm just going to bring that over here to the camera. I've got all the peppers stuffed in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into a roasting pan. So I've got that here, ready to go. And I'm going to put the stuffed peppers. Now what I've done is I've taken some whole peppers. I've added about 4 whole peppers also, and I've stuffed them to show you what these look like. My grandmother used to fill them up like that. Now if you wanted to serve this, you could serve this for 2 people. 1 person could eat this actually, or 2 people could eat it. You could cut it in half. So I'm just going to, the ones that are kind of whole, I'm just going to set them at the side, and then I'm going to, so I've got 4 whole ones, and I've filled them with the meat mixture that I showed you how to do. So I'm just going to place those on the bottom of the roasting pan here, and then meanwhile this juice mixture is kind of cooking, and this will be poured on to the stuffed peppers. So I'm just going to arrange these into the roasting pan. It's going to be kind of a tight fit, but that's okay. It's going to kind of place them into the roast pan. This is a great recipe when you're waiting for a large group of people, for guests. So I'm just going to position there, and then of course what I do is I pour the mixture on top of the stuffed peppers like that, and then so I'm going to wait till that kind of boils. So this is it has such a great aroma when you put it into the oven. So I've got the oven going to be preheating it to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. We do have a conversion table on our website that converts Fahrenheit to Celsius. So if you check on there, open the doors, you will see a conversion table. So you can click on there and it converts measurements for you. So I'm preheating the oven, and then I'm going to pour this mixture on there, and then I'm going to put it into the oven for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So midway, what I would do is I would check on the meat. I would check to see if there's enough juice on there. There should be enough juice on there. There's 2 liters of tomato juice, and there's 2 cups of water. So that should be sufficient enough for the stuffed peppers. And the peppers have water in them too, so there's going to be a lot of juice there. I made use a little bit more meat in this recipe. So you could cut this the ground beef to half that portion, like half a kilogram of ground beef and half a kilogram of pork if you're mixing the 2 together. Or you could just do half and half if you want to do a small amount. But I wanted to show you something, a surprise thing that you could do with the extra meat that I had left over. So I had some extra meat left over, and what I did was I put it into a kind of a pan like this, and I put it can be a meatloaf. So whatever leftover peppers I've had from the tops of the whole peppers, I just kind of decorated the top of the pan, and this is a meatloaf, actually, a meatloaf that my mom would make, my grandmother and my mom would make also. And you could probably make even hamburger patties out of these, but I've decided for supper tonight we're going to have sort of a meatloaf, and we're going to have mashed potatoes with it, and whatever's left over you can freeze in Ziploc containers, so you'll have leftover meatloaf. So I will add that to the end of my recipe, that this can also be, you can also make a meatloaf out of this. So this would be a meatloaf recipe that my grandmother and my mother made. And what you could do is you could pour a tomato sauce on it. You could use tomato soup, canned tomato soup, and make a tomato sauce to pour over it, and or your favorite sauce, like a mushroom sauce. So this is another idea that I wanted to share with you, sort of a surprise recipe that I wanted to add to the stuffed peppers, because my mother would actually mix up a lot more of the meat, and then she'd use it to make a meatloaf for the family. Okay, so this is just about boiled. So this is another great recipe that's cooked in restaurants. Very popular recipe for our dinners. Like it's great. So my oven is ready to put the stuffed peppers in, and it's going to be amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly pour this onto my stuffed peppers. Now I have a pot that has sort of a rounded rim on the side of it. You might want to pour it into another, sort of like a glass kind of measuring cup if you want, and you can add it on slowly. But you just keep adding the juice onto the stuffed peppers, and it should cover it, most of it, like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into the oven, and I'm going to cook it for about, so this is just a great recipe. And there will be a picture of it on my website also. So I'm going to put this into the oven, the stuffed peppers, into a big roasting pan, so I've got it covered up. And I'm going to put it into the oven. And I hope to see you back again, and I will show you what this great recipe looks like when it's cooked. Welcome back again to Irinka's Kitchen. I've had the stuffed peppers, TÖLTÖTT paprika, in the oven for approximately 2 hours, so it's ready, and I have it put into a serving dish, and I'd like to just show you how it looks. It smells amazing. The smell of sweet peppers, the beef and the pork, and all the spices and onions. So this kitchen just smells great. So so what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you. So I'm going to bring it up to the camera, and I'm going to show you what this wonderful dish looks like. So I'm going to bring down the camera for you and just have you look at this recipe. It's just amazing. The color is magnificent. The red, the tomato juice, the sauce that I made is excellent. So this is a great recipe, and I hope you enjoy this, serving this to your guests and your family. Until next time, I hope that you come and visit my kitchen again. And my website is irinkaskitchen.com. My email is irene@irinkaskitchen.com. Until next time, bon appetit, jo ätvágyat!